Hello and welcome to episode 106 of Guns and Yellow Ribbons live. I am Fergus, I'm your host. I'm joined, there's been a slight change in the lineup. I'm joined by all the regulars. We have Old Man Trev, we have Potsy, and we have Scunny. How are we doing, boys?
Very well.
All good.
Very well,
All
mate.
good. Brilliant.
All good.
Good. We don't have any mishaps happening in your sister-in-law's bedroom like we had last week, Trev, do we?
No, I'm not in the sister-in-law's bedroom now. I'm in the spare room at my daughter's house tonight. So we'll see how we go, mate.
Do you have a caravan?
You what?
Do you have a caravan? You move around an awful lot.
Well, I'm visiting and I have to see all the family. Right, move on. Stop picking on me. I'm not in the mood.
Okay, he's not in the mood. At least you're not going to storm off tonight, because you stormed off the last time with the ump, didn't you? Because your earphones and your stuff wouldn't work.
Well, I couldn't hear you, firstly. I couldn't hear you, firstly. And secondly, you were accusing me of having all sorts of electrical devices going, of which I had none. And I was proven to not have any.
This is true. This is true. That was a malfunction from another party. That was Amanda's laptop and her fan. But that was very, 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 very funny. I really struggled to hold it together. I did. Honestly, I did. We met up in the Arsenal Tavern, Trev and Potsy, just ahead of the FA Cup game on Monday evening. I brought little Joseph to his first third round FA Cup game, and we met the lovely Donna, didn't we, Trev?
We did, yes. She was very impressed with you and Potsy. She was indeed. I'd say to her, "Oh, really, in a bit sweet." You know, they're not that nice, but no, she was very happy to be in your company, boys. And she said
she's lovely, mate. Lovely.
Yeah, lovely lady.
Lucky girl as
lovely
well,
lady. She's very lucky, mate. Very lucky indeed.
I nearly tripped over that little white stick she's got quite a few times, though. We also met the lovely Carol. We met Tim and Terry as well, so it was good to meet them. Scotty, you're coming down to London next week as well for the Chelsea game. A couple of weeks' time for the Chelsea game, so maybe you meet up for a pint or somewhere at some point as well. Looking at the Leeds game, it was Johnny from the North Bank. It was his birthday. He went to the Ivy ahead of the game, and we met up at half-time, and we'll have a chat about that in a little while. But the Leeds fans, we were talking to some Leeds fans in the pub beforehand. The Arsenal Tavern we were in, which, in fairness, they need to do something about the security on there, because they had no security on the door. And you would have just thought it would be home fans only. There was no issues or problems, but certain games, it's really newly reopened, and I just worry in case something might happen and then they lose a license or whatever. But talking to them, I talked to some of them about Eddie Nketiah, because we got Eddie Nketiah back. They weren't impressed with Eddie Nketiah. They were they said he was lazy. Did any of you guys talk to these guys there?
You did, Trev, didn't you? I didn't speak to him much, but you did, Trev.
Yeah, I didn't really talk about Eddie Nketiah. I talked more about where their priorities lied before the game on Monday. And although they all wanted to have a bit of a cup run and were loving their day at Arsenal, they all agreed that if you made them choose, they want to be in the Premier League next season. So yeah, they came down and had a good night, and they weren't bad lads in the tavern. Fergus is exactly right. Other teams might bring fans in there that might not be quite so sociable. But yeah, what we talked mainly about was their FA Cup aspirations and their Premier League aspirations, and they're desperate to get back in the Premier League. They love the cup run, but I don't think they were overly concerned, to be honest. Basically, it was their cup final, wasn't it? You know, they've come to the Arsenal, they've brought 9,000 fans, they've had a great night. Unlucky boys, you went out, but you played well, and I hope these come up. Good luck to them, and I hope they do come up into the Premier League. Easy away for us, Gunny.
Say that again, sorry?
It's an easy away game for us, Leeds, Gunny, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yeah, it's going to be nice to. We need some more Yorkshire teams back in the Premier League. We've only got really Sheffield at the minute. Sheffield United. It'd be nice to see the old Sheff Wednesday, Leeds, and possibly Huddersfield again. That'll be nice to have them back in the Prem.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, since you mentioned Nketiah, Fergus, having seen him, how was Bamford keeping Nketiah out of side? Because I thought Bamford was poor.
Bamford was poor, and we'll talk about Leeds and the first half in particular. But I believe the reason that Eddie didn't get into the team was he had a groin strain at some point, and that he was coming on as a sub off the bench. Because I've got a friend of mine who's a Leeds fan, and he was quite impressed, actually, in comparison to these other guys, and hence the conversation. But he came on. I think he scored. Was there 6 goals in his first 4 games? He had a brace in his first game. I can't remember the exact stats, but he was doing quite well coming off the bench. And then he pulled his groin in training, and that put him out for a while. And then Bielsa he dropped off Bielsa's radar a little bit, and I don't know if his head dropped or what dropped, but he ended up coming back to us. So yeah, the Arsenal lineups. Holding started, Socrates at right back. What did we make of it? Mike, you go first on this one.
We needed somebody at right back, didn't we? I think Maitland-Niles deserved a bit of a rest after the way he's played. So it's who do you put right back? It's going to be either Socrates or Mustafi, isn't it? And I think I'd rather have a Socrates than Mustafi, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So they're your options, especially with the injuries that we've got. As for Holding coming back, I thought he was shaky, but I suppose that's down to be expected with his first game back. It's always tough having a long layout and coming back into a team. And the way Leeds were playing, I think he did all right. He was, like I say, he was definitely shaky, but it's always going to be and it was definitely a tough game.
And Dan, did you notice with regards to Holding, Louise and Xhaka, the friendly chats they were having among each other?
Yeah, I wouldn't say they were friendly, if I'm honest with you. On the 3 players himself, I actually thought David Luiz was up there with Lacazette for man of the match. I thought he was outstanding, David Luiz, and I think he has been under Mikel Arteta. I've really been impressed with him. He really seems to have picked his game up. He looks like more of a commanding centre-half than he certainly did when we first bought him. So I think he's been good. But really the kind of worrying first half was Holding and Xhaka. They just had such a poor half, along with Matteo Guendouzi. I thought them 3 were particularly poor in the first half. I know no one had a fantastic first half, if I'm honest, but those 3 in particular were pretty poor. I didn't think it was working on the right-hand side with Socrates, but it seemed to be picked up by everybody in the second half. But I think the main one was Holding's pass to Xhaka. It wasn't a great one, but Xhaka did kind of just stand there. And then, of course, they both had a real kind of nasty, heated moment where they were just screaming and shouting at each other. But I don't really mind that so much. You know, if there's a mistake, you used to see Peter Schmeichel and Gary Neville do that most weekends, if something went wrong. So I don't think it's always such a bad thing. I don't think it proves that they don't get on. I think it could be the opposite. It could be that they do actually get on and they're both telling each other that they're both in the wrong. So it was a heated debate. I think David Luiz got involved just to try and be the kind of peacemaker, but I didn't think it was something that dragged on. So I thought it wasn't so bad to see, to be fair.
And what did you make of Holding's overall performance? Especially, okay, we're still looking at the first half. Personally, I thought he was like Bambi on ice.
A rusty performance. He didn't have much confidence. I think his first game back for a while, but every time he has kind of been a part of the team, he's had a poor game, hasn't he, Fergus? I looked at the Europa League game he came in, he didn't look too strong. At Anfield, he had a nightmare next to Mustafi and they let 5 goals in. And then obviously against Leeds, I thought he was the worst player on the pitch. But, people have made comments about him coming from a long-term injury, so I suppose he's going to be a little bit rusty. But from what I've seen of him, when he has taken part in games this season, it's not looked too good. And to be fair, I've kind of written him off this season along with Tierney and Bellerin just because of their long-term injuries they've now got, along with Callum Chambers. So we're so short at the back, boys. We really are. We're going to have to do something this month. I think we're going to be forced to do something because Holding doesn't look fit. Mustafi looks to be off. Mavropanos isn't quite ready to step up. And we've only got Luiz and Socrates, haven't we? So we're going to have to look at getting someone in.
There's talk of, as we know, what's his name?
I don't want him.
Boateng, but there's also talk of possibly some loan moves, and I think loan moves would probably be a better idea. And because we got who's the guy in France? We got him as well.
Upamecano, yeah.
No, we got Saliba.
Saliba, yeah.
Still playing back in France. So a loan move would probably be good because Holding and Tierney and possibly Bellerin get through all their injuries and then come back next season or later in the season. I just said hello to some of the guys in the chat: Alex, Raul, Ross, 95 Winston, and some others in the chat. So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us again. Trev, Shaka, how did he not get 6, 7 yellow cards? The fouls,
Yeah, exactly. He had me shouting at him a couple of times, Fergus, because it's not just the fouls; it's the needless fouls. If you're gonna tot up some fouls, use it when you need to use that foul. Don't do the needless ones and then get in the ref's head. So when you have to tap someone's ankles to stop the play and get your team back in the game, the ref will already have you in his head if you've been tapping around all game. So it was needless, some of his fouls. I'm not gonna run him down, because what Dan said was exactly right. I think at the time I thought to myself, well, we don't need to see Holding and Xhaka arguing like this. But it was soon over. And they moved on. I feel a bit sorry for Holding. I genuinely do feel a bit sorry for Holding. He's been plagued by injuries. He's been in and out. He needs a bit. He needs some game time, and that clearly showed. I'm wondering if he would have played if we'd been able to play Socrates in his correct position. I'm not sure that Holding would have played at all.
We talked at half time about it, and Archie, who's put a comment on YouTube, has said it's clearly an attitude problem with the players. For far too long they've been given these first-time performances. Glad to see that Arteta gave him a piece of his mind and got the job done. So, at half time, we talked about that position, especially with Holding and with Socrates at right back, because we were dominated in the first half by Leeds. They had 15 shots on goal versus R2, and we talked about maybe dropping Nelson back into right back, bringing Martinelli on and put him in Nelson's position, taking Holding off and pushing him into centre back. We're playing Football Manager outside block 5. What do you think? Lacazette talks. Was it Lacazette? I think talked about that they got torn a new one by Mikel. Potsy, what you make of that?
Yeah, I think it was quite clear to see. They come out in the second half. Remember, in my opinion, it was a game of two halves. Leeds were much the better side in the first half, and to have that amount of shots on goal, Patrick Bamford hit the bar, Martinez had to make a couple of blocks. But for me, the second half was a completely different performance. And I think if you look at some of the players I mentioned, particularly Xhaka and Guendouzi, I thought they went from two of the worst performances to two of the better performances in the second half. I think they controlled the midfield again, and I saw Xhaka diving in for tackles last minute and winning it, and he looked like a real sort of something changed in their mentality for me. And Lacazette deservedly so. I think him and Luiz were great, and that Lacazette deservedly so got man of the match. I thought he chased after every ball. He worked very, very hard. Great at holding the ball up. It was a great performance in the second half, and we got through, boys. So we've got to be happy, haven't we?
You mentioned Lacazette and said he was man of the match. I actually probably disagree with him being man of the match, but we'll talk about that. But Tom Bromley mentions on Facebook Lacazette was lucky not to be sent off. What did you make of that, Mike? You can come in on that. What did you make of that particular tackle? Because you would have seen it on TV. I didn't actually see it when I was in the ground. I was watching Mikel Arteta half the game, if I'm honest. But
yeah, he was definitely lucky not to get sent off. It was pretty bad.
I've seen
surprised didn't get any card whatsoever. It was so lucky. He just I've never seen reffing like that. To be fair, normally the refs are quite harsh, and as we've seen lately in a few matches of ours, the refs have been really harsh. But this one, I don't think the ref didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to get that book out. He didn't want to get a card out. He didn't want to do out. He just wanted to blow his whistle every now and again.
Well, I've seen it on a replay since, and Mark Holsley was on Talk Sport talking about it, and I thought, he was lucky not to get a red on the basis of what Son did against Rudiger, I think it was, in the where he kicked back. But Holsley came along and said, "Hello, Toby. Yes, I do need to give the hairdryer treatment to
his own hairdryer treatment."
Mark Holsley said that it was more like he clipped his heel more than kicked out at him to a certain degree. I think that's been very, very generous.
Very generous.
Dan?
I've not seen it back yet, so
no, you haven't.
Really comment. No,
likewise.
Back yet.
Likewise, I haven't seen it, so I'm going to have to sort of agree with Trevor and go with what Scunny says. If he saw it on TV and he was lucky, then he's clearly a little bit of a lucky boy, isn't he?
Yes,
very lucky boy.
Now, what did you? We talked again at half time. We talked about Arteta, the team performance, and the way that we looked like we came back to same old Arsenal again. We just looked like disjointed and everything else. And I think I said to you guys that was a huge test of Arteta for him to go into that dressing room and come back out and get that team to perform. The second half performance, Pepe, Lacazette, Ozil for part of it. As you said, Guendouzi, still not convinced. I think he falls down too easily. But players actually put a shift in. That's got to give us some hope in Arteta. Trev?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, Fergus. Without that, I tweeted at half time. It's very rarely I tweet during the game, but I tweeted at half time and I just put, I hope Arteta's Arsenal turn up second half, and they didn't let us down. And I take that first half as a massive positive. Now it wasn't at the time. We know that, we're not silly, but the fact that Arteta managed to turn the same 11, but didn't bring a sub on, put the same 11 players back on the field, and to watch them, they started playing football another 20 yards up the pitch nearer to the Leeds goal, you know, and we were back into this pressure game that we've been playing the last few games. And like Dan and Mike have already said, we were a different side. We were the new Arsenal again, and we didn't look like losing, to be honest. I was surprised we didn't go on and get a second goal, but yeah,
well, we could have been 3 down.
Yeah, we could have been 3 down, but we weren't. You know, we weren't. The fact of the matter is, we weren't. And at half time, Arteta's done his stuff, and then when I just thought that we worked well, and I thought he'd done it. His substitutes went in well as well. You know, Pepe started playing and he ran his socks off, but when he brought Martinelli on, that gave us another outlet, didn't it? You know, and the boy done really well. So yeah, I take that first half. I didn't at half time, but after the game, I take that first half performance as a positive. We were lucky. We went in 0-0, and Arteta's obviously torn them a new one, and we've come out and we've seen a completely different side. And if we play like that for 90 minutes, I know we're going to talk about Palace, but if we play like that for 90 minutes against Palace, I can't see us losing. I can't see us losing. I know I'm going to get some grief next week if we do, but I don't think we will. I was very impressed, very happy. Yeah, the second half was just fantastic. Yeah.
After we just had a comment.
Fantastic. That's an overstatement. Fantastic, but we were much better. Yeah.
We got through.
Yeah.
Potsy, Raoul put a comment up there about Martinelli over Guendouzi. I don't think they're playing a similar position, really, do they? Wouldn't one?
No, I don't know if he's meaning Martinelli over Guendouzi in terms of position. I'm not sure what he's getting at there, but what I will say is I think that Martinelli will be a better player than Matteo Guendouzi, because this guy really excites me. I mean, he really does. It gets to the stage for me where I look at players that excite me at a young age, and there's not been that many of recent times, but this lad certainly does. I mean, he's always looking to go forward. We've been accused in the past and of recent times of going sideways and backwards, which we still do. This guy gets the ball and wants to go forward, and he wants to win stuff, and he wants to try and get a foul, and he holds the ball up well for his size. I think he's got some strength. He's got pace. He's got power. He knows how to finish, and he seems to be able to know how to head the ball, as well as using both of his feet. I think this kid can have everything. He looks like he can play off of both wings, down the centre, maybe in a kind of false 9 or number 10 even. He just looks to me like wherever you put him on the pitch, he'll give you 110%. And I just think that I look at it and I'm so excited by this lad. And when he came on straight away, it was like, do you know what? This is looking again like just what I wanted to see from a Mikel Arteta player, and I think that is what he'll become, someone really good under this manager. One thing I will say about just Mikel Arteta in terms of his press conference at the end was he said, I saw 2 teams out there, and the first Arsenal side, I didn't like it at all. And I thought that is absolutely brilliant to say that. When you hear that from your manager, that is just what you want. Because how many times have we heard Unai Emery or Arsene Wenger say, oh, yeah, they're just like... they're just lacking a little bit of confidence. That was all it was. Or, oh yeah, it didn't really go our way in the first half. He was just brutally honest. He seems to talk like a fan. And that is what I love about Mikel Arteta so far, is that all of his press conferences have been great. He's come out in them and he's been honest. And he said, do you know what? There was 2 Arsenal sides there. The first one, I hated it. The second one, I loved it. And the fans would agree. So that's what I loved about it.
To be honest, as I've said before, I'm not 100% convinced on whether Arteta was the correct appointment. I'm loving what I'm seeing at the minute. I'm loving what I'm hearing at the minute. But of 3 games that we've played, well, 4 games, but 3 games that we've played, we've had 3 good 45 minutes, and we have had 3 awful 45 minutes. We just need to get to a point where we're having 1 full game with a full 90 minutes and then build from there. It's slowly. So, Donna, Mrs. Potts, what's that said? There's got to be space in the team for Martinelli and Guendouzi. Guendouzi covers a lot of ground and doesn't give up. Oh, I'm crap at reading now. I should have read this beforehand. He deserves a bit more recognition for his effort. I think he does get recognised quite a lot. Yeah, he doesn't give up. Yeah, he does try really hard. He's very, very hardworking. I do agree with that. He is very hardworking and he does put his all in. I'd give him 10 out of 10 for heart. But I just really struggle with. He went down like a sack of again in the midfield. In the second half, he goes into tackles, he pulls out of tackles, he's going to get himself injured. But hopefully, under Arteta, he will grow and learn better to be a player. A player that has improved, I think. He's now 6 months in the league. He wasn't getting replayed very much beforehand. Was Nicolas Pepe, Super Nick, as we were singing in the North Bank at one point. He's growing into his role, but is he too left-footed? Trev? Or Mike? One of you two?
No, I don't think so, Fergus. I don't think so. Just dwelling for a couple. Sorry, boys. Just dwelling for a couple of seconds on the Guendouzi Martinelli thing. It's not an either head, Fergus, is it? I think if you want to play Martinelli or Alba, don't you? You lose one of them for each.
Are you there, Trev?
So, Mike, the way I'm looking at it for a moment.
Mike, you jump in for a second because Trev's signal has just gone for a second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was sort of going to agree with Trev on the Martinelli and Guendouzi. I think Raul was. Well, your internet connection's garbage, mate. Get that mouse running.
I'm going to have to mute myself.
Go on, Mike.
Again. Oh, no. Yeah, what I was going to say was I was actually going to agree with Trev about Martinelli and Guendouzi. You can't pick either or. It's got to be both, hasn't it, really? Also, with what Raul was saying, I think he did make a comment, which is this one, I do believe. Will it show? Will it not? Here we go. Yeah, in terms of quality of team play, they both have definitely got the quality there, and they both play as a team. So I don't think that's the case. Like you were saying, Fergus, as well about Guendouzi. He's got full of heart. He knows how to play in the team. He is a good team player. But I'm agreeing with you. He was one of my favourites last season for being a really good player last season. One of our standout players last season. So
Dave's with me.
And then there is that as well. This season so far, he is running around like a headless chicken. He's not playing with the same quality as what he was last season.
What's your thoughts on Pepe then? Is he growing into the role, or is he too left-footed? Or
I don't think he's too left-footed. No, I know he likes to. I know he likes to cut inside to obviously hit it over his left foot. He is a left-footed player, but I think he's got the quality there. I think he's got more than one trick up his sleeve. So I just think give it a bit of time. He's only really been here so long. He's only been here since the start of this season. He's not really had a full season in the Premier League. There's also the fact that he had Emery for a start as well as a coach, which we all know every player pretty much down tools for Emery. So now he's got Arteta and he's forced his way back into the team because I think Arteta was preferring Nelson at the time, but he's sort of said, no, I'm not giving up. I'm getting back into this team, and he's pushing Nelson out again.
And Potsy, you mentioned Lacazette, and he took a shot on. He needs to score a goal. Confidence-wise, he really needs to score a goal. He did take a shot. It was deflected and scored by the said Nelson. What do we make of that then, Potsy?
Well, I think you can never knock Lacazette's work rate. I think every time that he plays, he does put in 110% effort. I think, unfortunately, it's a little bit of confidence with him. And the main one for me was actually the Man United game, where all he had to do was shoot, and it was as if a molehill had hit the football, and it had just kind of just flopped up in the air, and he just scuffed it and got it wrong. And I do think he was man of the match. I know you don't agree, Ferg. You said that you wouldn't have given it to someone else. But for me, I thought he was the hardest working player on the pitch. And I thought that everything he touched was always looking towards a positive. So for me, Lacazette needs that goal. I was glad that we started him because I thought he might, if he was going to get a goal, it was going to be that night, but he didn't come for him. So I think we just got to stick with him because I think when he does score, like Pepe, we'll start to see his confidence lifted, and it will start to get to the way that we go. I actually quite like Pepe on his left foot. I know people said that he is quite one-footed. I think that most of the technical ability he's got comes from him cutting on that one left foot and then cutting it and dragging it around the player. So I quite like Pepe going forward. I just feel that he just needs that run of games and that couple of goals. So, yeah, for me, I'm sticking with it. And if Arteta can get the confidence up like he has done with certain other players like Mesut Ozil, Granit Xhaka, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, then I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what these two boys can do as well.
So Pepe, Kai, not Kia, like I spelt in the chat. Asked, sorry, Kai, has he justified his price of 72 million?
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, wonderful. Hello. It's great to be back.
I think Kai's question is that one, mate. And I think the other question onto there was, has he justified his price, Lacazette?
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to watch here and you're watching there. So thank you. I knew this was a good idea.
Lacazette's always been a trier for me. He's always been the one that's put the most effort in, and he just does need that goal. Badly needs that goal. I thought he was man of the match actually, Dan, the other night. I genuinely did. Pepe, it's early in his Arsenal career. We've got to give him time. Yeah, I'm not jumping to conclusions on that boy. He's carrying a big price tag on them shoulders. Let's see how he goes. And don't forget, boys, we're talking about all this like Arsenal. Leeds are a bloody good side, you know. Leeds are a damn good side, as they showed in that first half. If they could finish, we were out of the game by half time. And as I said, we didn't get out of the game, and we came back against a good side second half, and we played them off the park. So don't forget, it's not all about the Arsenal here. You know, Leeds are a good side.
I heard people saying it was a game between a Premier League side and a Championship side, and it was difficult to tell who was who. And I would say that's probably a fair assessment of the game on balance, on the whole. Leeds will feel slightly hard done by, but if you are in such an ascendancy as they were in the first half and you don't capitalise, you almost deserve to lose.
Can I just answer Kai's question here? Because obviously he's put it twice now. So he's basically asking about Lacazette. Has he justified his price, though, lads? Yeah, I think he has justified his price. It's not only just goals with Lacazette. He holds the ball up very well and he's very technically very good against another player. So if he's a one-on-one in defence, if he's holding the ball up for someone else to run past him, he is technically very good and he can play round a 2p piece, to be perfectly honest with you. So I think he has justified his price.
I think his work rate is very, very good as well.
Yeah.
So apparently Aston Villa are beating Leicester in the League Cup at the moment. So thanks for that update, Archie. The next thing on the list was Ozil. Ozil, standing ovation for Ozil. You know, he's improved in the last 2 or 3. Have we got Ozil back? I still can't sing his song at the minute.
Well,
I've not risen to singing his song back yet.
Here. I've got a really interesting point here, right? I was talking to Chris after the game, Dan. Tell me again.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me or what?
No, you good. Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
I was talking to... Oh, shut up now. I was talking to Chris after the game, yeah? and
Right.
he said to me, he summed the game up as in the first half, they played out of their skin really well. Second half, the Premier League class showed through, and we went on and won the game. But what he did say was, his exact words were, that Ozil's a lazy. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, this is a better Ozil. But he thinks he's lazy. So I thought, well, I'm not quite working that comment out, to be honest. I don't know what you boys thought. I thought he played really well.
I didn't think he was great. Go on, Patsy, you go. I'll speak enough.
You're right, Ferg. I thought it was a bit similar to the situation at Chelsea, where
one second. If anybody's listening to this on audio, I highly recommend you either join Guns and Yellow Ribbons on Facebook or go to Guns and Yellow Ribbons on YouTube and watch this, because Trevor is absolutely comical with his expressions. It's like technophobe.com. Carry on, Potsy.
What am I doing?
Oh God, this is brilliant.
Just your reactions.
You've got to get up on YouTube and watch Trev. I could watch him all day, Trev.
Hashtag where's Trev?
Hashtag where's Trev. Anyway, listen, my mum, as she's just commented, is not a fan of Mesut Ozil. Well, never has been, to be honest. What I will say about him, from what I've seen under Mikel Arteta, because that's now where I'm now looking at it, right? When it comes to it, Mesut Ozil is now tracking back more, and he is putting in a shift from what I can see. The only problem with Mesut Ozil is when someone works out that if you stand on him and man mark him out the game, you won't see him and he'll be invisible. And that is what Jorginho did at Chelsea, and that is what a player that I would like to talk about when I can in Leeds did the other night, and that's Calvin Phillips. And we spoke to Chris, me and Trev, and we spoke about this lad, and I keep hearing about how good he is and what he can bring, and that he's ready for the Premier League now, and he's ready to be called up for England. So I thought, well, let's have a look at this lad, and let's have a look at Ben White at centre half, because they're the two English lads that everyone keeps talking about at Leeds at the moment, and they were by far the two best players on the pitch, in my opinion, and that's including the Arsenal boys. So for me, those two players are going to be England lads in the future. Ben White is apparently on loan from Brighton. I don't know why Brighton don't want him. I know they've got Duffy and Dunk, but this lad looks so good. And he's been linked with Liverpool, City even, because they need defenders. So they must be seeing something in him. And Calvin Phillips, for me, is a kind of a position that Arsenal would walk into the Arsenal side, just because he's the sort of position that we need, because he's different to Lucas Torreira. He's not a little terrier. He doesn't look to me to be like a little terrier and who's tenacious, goes after that little bite in midfield. He looks to be the kind of deep lying sort of midfielder in a kind of Xabi Alonso mould. From what I saw of him the other night, it looks to me as if he can be one hell of a player. And he saw and marked out Mesut Ozil, and Mesut Ozil got absolutely nowhere for the majority of the game just because of that one player. So that's what I'll say about Mesut Ozil, is once he can be given space, and once there's a midfielder that can't quite work him out, he'll be one of the best players on the pitch. But Lampard did the right thing and brought on Jorginho, and he was marked out the game, and Calvin Phillips obviously did his homework on him, because I couldn't see that Mesut Ozil got much of the ball. I didn't think he had a bad game, but I didn't think he was it wasn't the Mesut Ozil that we wanted to see, and that was hugely down to Calvin Phillips. So I've got to give the lad credit. I was really impressed.
Yeah, but I was going to say, Arsenal. We ain't having that Calvin Phillips at Arsenal. Not with that haircut. I'm not having it. I'm not having it. It ain't happening. I shall find him and pin him down and chop it off myself. I'm telling you, if he comes to Arsenal.
It's just hair envy, isn't it?
God, you can tell he's not with the times, can't you?
I'm just jealous. Look at me headlock.
Yeah. It's shiny, that one, mate.
He did play well, in fairness, didn't he? Phillips, yeah, he did play well. But,
I've mentioned about Calvin Phillips before. I think I've mentioned it, and I'm not too sure if I've mentioned it on here, but I think I've mentioned him on our messaging group. He's one definitely to look at. To what Dan was saying, I think he looks more like a Pirlo type of player. That's what I think he looks like, is he can hold the ball up, he can pass it for sure. As we saw, I think he got it right on the button in one of the crosses again on Patrick Bamford's head when it just went past in the first half. So yeah, he's definitely one to watch out for, and I think Leeds are going to be wanting to keep hold of him, especially if they do get up to the Prem, which I hope they do. So to watch.
Two final things on the Leeds match. The first thing is the Socrates VAR violent conduct thoughts. Again, in the stadium, we get to see sod all. We just saw crappy graphics up on the screen. We can hear nothing. We're told nothing. We can just see on the opposite side of the pitch. Socrates just gone, I've been pushed down on my head and all like this. He was making lots of gestures to the referee, trying to justify what it was done. Mike, did you see what actually happened?
Sorry, what was that for again? I'm sort of looking at comments here, and I'm trying to do the banners.
No, I know. So people understand what we've done here is we were hoping to get Max in from Osbros for today, and Mike was going to be in the background just operating all the questions and trying to answer your questions and put you up on screen. So like the one that Terry just put up on there. But we've got Mike joining us as well, so he's multitasking. He's in touch with his feminine side. Socrates, did the Socrates VAR decision, which he was cited for violent conduct and found not guilty? What happened? What did you see?
I think it was down to, I can't remember where it was actually who did it, but it was someone put his hand on his face and just sort of rub his hand across his face, and I think that was pretty much it, and I think that's what it was over. The sort of incident that sort of happened, I think he sort of held on to a leg, and then someone was sort of, kicking into him a bit maybe, but it was nothing. It was nothing really. It wasn't even worth VAR, to be fair. Not for the 2, 3, 4 minutes that there was.
Yeah,
it should have taken about 30 seconds because it was nothing.
That's the thing as well. These things are going to be clear and obvious before they go to VAR. And if they're clear and obvious, they should take about 30 seconds, not 3 or 4 minutes. The last thing before we do man of the match, Leeds, quick one-liner. Do you think they'll make the Premier League and stay up if they did come up?
I think they will, yeah. I think they've got everything. They've got the fan base, they've got the team, they've got the manager. I think they're well drilled, been coached well. I like what I saw the other night, and I don't think it was something that I look at and think to myself, this team aren't good enough. I thought they looked like a Premiership-ready side already, so I think that they will come up, and I think Bielsa's got everything in his locker to keep them up in the Premier League. It's in, what's happened with teams coming up like Sheffield United. If you've got a good manager and you've got a well-drilled set of players, you've got a great chance, and I've already mentioned a couple I think that would be good enough for the Premier League, and as a team they looked really quite something special the other night. So yeah, Leeds to go up, and I hope they do. I really do.
Yeah, I'd love to develop.
I was just about to say about another Leeds player, actually, to be fair. What Terry just said about, is it Luke Ayling? Wasn't he an Arsenal player at one point?
He was an Arsenal player. Yeah. Thought he had a really good game. Really good game.
He could have a good game, and he's not a regular either, is he, to be honest? I don't think he's a regular for the team. So if he's got his opportunity to play against Arsenal, coming from Arsenal, I think he took it really well.
And Trev, who would you said Lacazette was your man of the match?
Yeah, I'll give it to Lacazette just for his effort. I thought we played all right. Yeah,
and we know where you are. We know where you are. You're Lacazette, Mike.
Lacazette,
yeah. Me personally, I probably would have gone to David Luiz, I think, to be honest. And I got it wrong last week when we played Man U. I think David Luiz got man of the match, but I thought Torreira deserved it. But not everyone can agree. And I agree with Ben there as well. I can't wait to go back to Ellen Road if they get up. I love it there. It's a great away day.
Missed the little fella, didn't we, on Monday? Missed the little fella, Torreira, we did.
Yes, we did. Yeah, but I think he probably needed to be rested just because he's not been long back in the squad and playing as much as he has been. For me, the man of the match for me would have been Martinez. Without him, I think we would not be in the 4th round draw. We wouldn't be going away to Bournemouth. And as much as he frightened me nearly every time he touched the ball, his distribution was not the best. I think Arteta probably was having a canary half the time. The guy made some amazing saves. I think he made a lot of those saves look even more amazing than they were. But the fact was, he stopped. I don't know how many shots on target. I didn't look up the shots on target, but I think he's probably made 4 or 5 really, really important saves. So on that basis, I would go for Martinez. I know some people were talking about Guendouzi. Some people were talking about Socrates. A bit like probably in the Man United game, it's hard to pick an outstanding player for Arsenal in these performances because they seem to perform as a unit and as a team, which is what is fantastic to see when they do it. So we got
Fergus. Just before you move on, son, Fergus, I'm sorry to butt in there, but you've just put that up on the screen, and Ben Bennett is 100% right there. Socrates, we've not mentioned it. We need to give him 30 seconds, Socrates, because he's a big lump of a lad. He's playing right back, right? And he's obviously not built to be a right back, but he's even trying to fly up and down the wing. You know, I thought his effort was superb. He's not a right back, and we shouldn't be playing him there.
I think
he
someone
had
needs
to play
to check
there,
his birth
and he did
certificate.
really well.
I don't think he's that old, to be fair, to be bombing up like that.
What did you make of him turning to the crowd and when the crowd would tell him to take a free kick quicker or something like that, and he started going, "Calm down," to the crowd. You know, the crowd didn't take to that too well, Trev.
Oh, Socrates.
Yeah, did you not see that?
He's Greek, mate. That's what they do. They like all this. Why do you think I'm going like this? I'm Greek now, you know. They're very expressive people, you know. How many times have you seen Socrates go to Greece this year and give it this one? You know? Come on, boys. Don't pick on Socrates for that. That's the way he is. He's like me. Now, look, Fergus, you need some of this, son. Calm down. Get on with it.
Right.
Now then.
So we've got Bournemouth away. I'm hearing that it's not confirmed yet, but I'm hearing that it's going to be a Monday night 8 o'clock kickoff with the Kings of Monday Night Football. If that is the case, what do you think? We'll have a larger allocation. I think we get up to 15% of the ground. The ground only holds about 20. I think it's 17,000, maybe 20,000. So rather than having 12,
Fergus.
What's that?
13,000 it holds.
I think it's more than that, Trev.
13. Take my word for it, son. 13,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get.
Wrong.
Well, for a normal game, you get 5% allocation. We normally get about 1,250. But we can get up to 15% for a cup game. That's what the allocation should be. And I think we'll probably get about 2,500. Oh, Terry Greenwood says Trev's right. It's 13,000. So I will be Googling it afterwards just to check. What do we think about Monday night, though?
Same as Archie.
It's not fair, is it? Hey?
Yeah, Archie goes, boo.
They're picking on the fans again. I've told you, the TV control the football. There's no faults about the Arsenal fans. No, nothing at all. But we'll all go down there, won't we? And we'll all cheer the side on. So.
And Luton got 2,200, so hopefully we'll get a similar allocation. The only thing that it could possibly mean, some people who can't normally get to a Bournemouth away game because at the weekend or whatever, because of work commitments and so on, Arsenal will take up, if there's a 2,200 allocation, Arsenal will take up all that allocation. And some other fans who haven't been able to go before will be able to get to go down there. A question that we had finishing off on the FA Cup was, it was one that Potsy suggested, was what was your favourite FA Cup goal? Now, we're going to do this in basically reverse time order. So obviously, Mr. Hills, you've been going to Arsenal for an awful lot longer than all of us. So we'll go to you first for your all-time favourite Arsenal FA Cup goal.
It's a no-brainer for me, as it would be for everybody of about my age, Fergus. It's my first memories of the Arsenal when Charlie George scored from the edge of the penalty box to smash one past Ray Clements. It was a wonderful goal. The commentary was great. And it's gone to George. You can hit him. That's a great goal. And he celebrated laying on the floor like that in 1971 was a bit not done, you know. It was like, yeah, get up now, Charlie. Get back to the halfway line. Don't celebrate too much. But of course, it's Charlie George for me, and that great final. It was my first big memory of the Arsenal, and it still makes me smile now. And also from that game, people will remember. They still argue now over who scored our first goal. Was it George Graham or was it Eddie Kelly? I think they give it to Eddie Kelly now. George Graham claimed it, but they said to him, no. You never touched it, George. On your bike, we're going to give it to Eddie Kelly. So brilliant, yeah. That's me best Arsenal FA Cup goal. It's been loads better goals probably, but in my head, in my memory, that's the one for me.
And before we move on to some of the other guys in their cup goals, George Zenonos asks a question. What are you saying about us Greeks and hand articulation.
Well, George, what I'm saying is, I live in Greece, mate, and I'm passionate about the Greeks. I love you people, and when you talk, you use hands as well. You know what I mean? You get your point across by giving it this, and if you're not happy, you give it this, and that's what I'm saying, George. It's a compliment, mate, and I hope you take it that way.
Mike, let's go to you for your goal that you put down here.
I thought you was going in reverse order or oldest order.
Yeah, well, that's very grey hair you've got there. Oh no, it's a hat. Okay, it's me next then, is it?
Well, mine was 2015, mate. So come on.
Okay. Well, my one was not next. So the next one is Dan. Dan, what's your goal?
Yeah, this was. Oh, listen, it's a tough question, isn't it? You know, it really is because we've scored so many, haven't we? Because we're such a great club. But for me, I've gone for the Freddie Ljungberg goal in 2002. Almost went for what Ben Bennett's put there about Ray Parlour because of what Mr. Tim Lovejoy says there. It's only Ray Parlour, but I have gone for Freddie Ljungberg. I think that season he was our best player in the double winning season, 01-02. Freddie with his red hair. What I love about that goal is that he just drives forward. He knocks John Terry over, who was a big lump. Let's remember, out muscles him, and then gets to just literally on the line of the penalty area and puts him into the top hand corner of the goal, past Carlo Cudicini. So for me, it was that goal. I thought he was absolutely outstanding that season, and it was one of the best times to be an Arsenal fan. You know, a couple of seasons after that, we went unbeaten. I just have great memories around that time. I was probably sort of 13 or 14 years old at the time, so I was in my school years, and being able to give it to Chelsea fans, Tottenham fans, even Man United fans at that time was great. To be up there with them. Everybody loved Man United in the 90s and 2000s. So for me to be able to compete with them was great, and I wish it was like that now. But for me, Freddie Ljungberg, 2002 against Chelsea in the FA Cup final.
2015.
Right, now you got it right.
I'm good at this.
Yeah. Yep, 2015 was mine. It was the Alexis Sanchez final goal against Aston Villa, and he screamed it in from 25 yards out, and he hit the crossbar and went in. That was a great finish.
Well, for myself, I've gone for Aaron Ramsey, the 79th minute FA Cup final goal against Chelsea, simply because we had gone in the semi-final. We'd won against all the odds against Man City. We then there you go, Russ. We're off like minds. Then we went to Wembley thinking, you know what? We're going here. We're going to get smashed. Chelsea are going to smash us. We're just going to have a day out. And Aaron Ramsey got that, and he went nuts. But also, Ramsey scored one in the extra time of the 2014 goal, and FA Cup final. And I had been to the semi-final, which was the Wigan, and then it was Hull in the final. And I was in block 131 at Wembley. It was all standing, was great singing. I made sure I got in the block 131 again. And I was 2 or 3 rows further back, and I'm standing there waiting for the game to start, listening to the national anthem and what's that song they sing of the FA Cup? Abide With Me at the beginning of the FA Cup. And some guy goes, "Oh, mate, sit down." Well, I turned around and I told him to Foxtrot Oscar, and told him if you wanted to sit down and watch football, he should go home and watch it on ITV. The guy beside me wanted to get his mate, so we ended up swapping seats, and I ended up just over one of the railings over where the staircases are. And when Ramsey scored that goal in the 104th minute, honestly, the whole of that end of Wembley came on my back. And I think I sent a picture to you, Potsy, of the bruise on my back. That was just dire, absolutely dire. But it was fantastic. So for me, it's got to be Ramsey. I'll go for the Chelsea game because we didn't think we were going to win that game. Good topic. So
can you see that or not?
I can.
No, you can't.
I'll tell you what. I'll get it up on the screen in a second.
There it is. That's better.
Yeah, I'll get it up on the screen. Give me a second.
That's
so
awful.
talk among yourselves, as they say. Talk about the game against Palace that's coming up. That's your last game in the UK, isn't it, for a little while?
Yeah, it is, Fergus. It is for a little while. Yeah, I should be at the game on Saturday. I'll be coming from up north, so it's an early start for me for the 12:30 kickoff. As I mentioned very briefly earlier, I can't see if Arteta's Arsenal turns up for 90 minutes, can't see us losing. Can't see us losing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stick my neck right on the line and say if Arteta's Arsenal turn up for 90 minutes in our next 4 or 5 games, I can see us going on a decent winning run. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. Looking forward, not so much. I love away games anyway, but looking forward to seeing. It's great because it's changed. I'm now looking forward to seeing the Arsenal play football. It's not just about going away and being with my mates. You know, we're going to watch Arsenal, Arteta's Arsenal for 90 minutes hopefully, and have a big win.
If anybody hasn't seen or is watching on the video, that's the bruise on my back, and it was just that was about 2 days afterwards, and I had that bruise there for about a week. So anyway, let's remove my hairy back off there.
I must say about the Palace game, it is a bit of a bogey team for us going away, and I think last season they beat us, didn't they, when Mustafi decided to jump out the way of Zaha. This season we were 2-0 up and we threw it away. Okay, we should have won because VAR let us down. I still don't see there's anything wrong with that goal, but it is a bit of a bogey team. I'm not 100% confident, but I think that when Trev talks about Mikel Arteta's side, it is a different Arsenal at the moment. So let's hope now that we do go there. One thing I will say about Palace is someone sent me this last night on Twitter saying that Palace have got a few injuries. They've got like 11 injuries, I think he'd said. And I thought, 11, blimey. And to be fair, what I'm hearing is the list I've got in front of me, which is why I'm reading this off, is Patrick Van Aanholt is definitely out. So is Joel Ward. Scott Dann and Mamadou Sakho are definitely out. Jeffrey Schlupp, Andros Townsend, Christian Benteke are 100% out. And Milivojevic is suspended. You got Wilfred Zaha, Max Meyer, and Camarasa and Riederwald that are all a doubt. So really, injury-wise, I know we've had problems, but that is quite a big chunk of the Crystal Palace side there that will be having a rat to rotate due to injuries. So if we can actually say that we go there with, like Trev said, the Mikel Arteta side that it has been the last few games at home, I think that we could sneak a win.
Archie said Palace have half a team injured, but we all know Zaha will have a nailed-on penalty. What do you reckon?
That's if he wins. If he plays, Fergus, yeah, he will. If he plays, he's going to be a problem. He's going to be an issue because he's a great player. But Milivojevic hasn't missed a penalty and he's suspended. So who's going to take it? Probably be him, wouldn't it? Zaha. If he's fit.
I'm hoping that we can keep on a roll, keep on a run. We've got Palace, then we've got the Cup, then we've got Chelsea away. And Chelsea away is not as daunting as it was a few seasons ago because they've not performed very well. They're hot and cold and don't perform very well at Stamford Bridge. But it's a 12:30 kickoff on Saturday at Palace. Atmosphere is usually pretty crap at the early kickoffs. I did do Palace last year away, and for an old stadium, it's really fallen apart, but it's got a great atmosphere about it. And that away section that you go into, they've got a DJ in there. Have you been to it before, Trev?
I've not been to Palace for years, Fergus. God, a long time, yeah.
When you get through the turnstiles at the away end, there's a bar and they've got a DJ and he's just pumping out like, Northern Soul music and it's just a proper party atmosphere. Really, really enjoyed it there. You get no room to. The seats are awful and everything else. Not that you sit on them, but the ground itself is decrepit, but it's really, really good, really good. Guys, we've reached that moment and point in the time that we're going to bid you all farewell. I would like to thank everybody. What does
so do I, Terry. So do I.
Losing Doc, and you've got Terry's ticket, haven't you, for the Chelsea game?
I have.
So just don't let Hurl anywhere near it.
No, well, I'm hoping I don't see Hurl. Every time I see him, I saw him at Sheffield United and I saw him at Leicester. So
He's the Jonah. He's the Jonah. Honestly, I'm surprised he's not in the chat. That's probably why we're having such a good podcast.
And no
Listen,
buzzing.
thank you very, very much, Kai, Ben, Alex, Archie, new listener, viewer of ours, Dave, Ross, Raoul, Toby, George, to name but a few. There's loads of you in the chat. Really, really thank you for joining us. We are just for Arsenal fans. We talk about Arsenal because we love Arsenal. If you want to follow us, we're on Twitter. We're on Guns and Yellow Ribbons. If you want to see us on Facebook, you go on Facebook. We're at Guns and Yellow Ribbons on Facebook. We're on Instagram, but we don't really use it. And on YouTube, if you go onto YouTube, Guns and Yellow Ribbons on YouTube, click the bell. You'll get a reminder every time we're going to go live. We normally go around this time, 7, 8 o'clock. On a Wednesday. The days do vary occasionally, but we normally stick to a Wednesday. You have been listening to an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. I would like to thank Trevor and Potsy for joining, and in particular our new producer Mike,
who wasn't even meant to be on. That's why I've been so distracted.
Every week now, Scanny, mate. Every week now, Scanny. You got to do that. It was good, mate. You did good.
So much better than it normally is.
Cheers, Trev. I appreciate that, mate.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Up the arse.
Up the Arsenal.
Up the arse.
Come on, you guys.